Alright guys, so the truck is finally back home. I'll tell you guys everything, even my screw ups. So my truck's been sitting at where I work for the past, it'll be a week tomorrow. Let me tell you guys what happened. Anyways, so I had this theory. I got these tires, these big meaty tires, and I think they've been sitting for a little bit, so the rubber on them is like, it's really hard and kind of plasticky, and it's just kind of, there's not a lot of rain grooves, so they're not that great in the rain. And the other day I was getting on the highway coming home from work, and it was raining out, and I wasn't even on the gas. Like, I just let off, and like the truck's sideways coming on the highway, so that was cool. So I had this theory in my head. If I just roast the tires real quick, it'll burn off that outer layer of bad rubber, and maybe we can get down to some better, rubbery rubber. So I had to work last Saturday. I got to work, decided to let one rip, and I should have videotaped it. It was just like me sitting alone in a parking lot doing it, which I thought was weird. So anyways, matted the brakes, put the pedal to the floor, started to roll a little bit, push the brakes a little harder, started to come up on boost. You got that perfect turbo spool, turbo spool makes her drool. And I don't know why I just said that. A couple weeks ago we had the baby in here, and she like passed out and was just like drooling all over herself, as we were driving down the road, and I was like, turbo spool makes her drool. So now that's like my new catchphrase. Anyway, it started to come up on boost, got about halfway there, and bang! I'll include some pictures of the damage. Snapped the drive shaft off at the slip joint. Just like sheared it right off. So that was kind of an expensive whoopsie. Pushed the truck out back at work and pulled the drive shaft off of it, ran it up to the driveline shop, asked him if he would warranty it. I was like, look at this heat treating, the heat treating's kind of weird in here, can you warranty this? And he just kind of laughed at me. He said, yeah, what are you doing in it? I bet you got it in some big diesel, it's all turned up, you were probably doing donuts. I was like, no, I was trying to do a burnout, get it right. So anyways, he was pretty impressed by that. So when I put all this in, I stuck with the yokes that came on my transfer case. I didn't even really put any thought into like upgrading them. So it's got a 1330 input, 1330 output, and so I asked him if we could beef it up a little bit, maybe. He called me back later and said, yeah, I could put a 1350 on it. It's got a bigger spline shaft. It's got a much beefier U-joint. And he said it'll be $500. I really don't even have the money to get this fixed. Oh, here's another. I bought a minivan. Newest vehicle to the fleet. Yeah, so I'm officially a dad now. Anyways, so yeah, we just bought that. I just put new doors on our cupboards in our kitchen. Like, we are dirt floor broke, and then I did this, and of course it happened. Someone was like, hey man, can you go get me a load of stone? And I was like, yeah, sure. Snapped my drive shaft, so that kind of screwed things up. So anyways, took it to the driveline shop. He said he could beef it up for $500, but then I also have to replace the yoke on the transfer case, which is another $100. So that's $600 total. And I was like, I don't have the money for that. So instead, he was able to save the yoke, and he just replaced the spline shaft. And I was like, oh, that'll be cheap. It was $270 something. It was only $100 cheaper than having the whole drive shaft made. Put that on the credit card. We'll worry about that in 30 days. We did also discover another issue during this whole thing. A couple videos ago, I made mention that I may have my brake line switched on my master cylinder, which would mean that most of my braking force was going to the rear rather than the front. And I didn't get a whole lot of feedback on that. There were a few answers in there. So anyways, driveline shop's right down the road from Gary's You Pull It, which is our local scrap yard, junk yard, whatever. So we dropped off the driveline, ran up to Gary's, checked out a couple of trucks up there, and I had them switched. So now I'm really curious if it will do a burnout. But I think I'll wait until I have the $600 saved up to try again. So swap the lines around, so now my fronts are fronts and rears are rears, and the brake pedal feels much better. Before, it kind of like went way down. They worked good. They worked okay. They were better than they were before I did this project. So I didn't think I had them swapped, but the more you know. Anyways, that definitely played a big role into it because the brakes were locked on solid, so it was trying to fight the brakes and friction with those big meaty tires on it. So we'll try again someday. If you want to fund my stupidity, maybe we can set up a PayPal and I will try another burnout. I don't know. But anyways, also we did get the speedometer calibrated. So I just did my first fuel economy test. So we went 194.8 miles and I put 22.904 gallons in. So when you do the math, we get 8.5 miles per gallon. So we're not winning any fuel economy awards there. Eventually down the road, I'd really love to swap out that transmission, because that's what really hurts us on the fuel economy, because of that 1-to-1 with no lockup converter. You know, when you go down the highway at 65, you got the pedal to the floor, max RPM, just I mean, it's just blowing diesel fuel out the tailpipe. And I will say too, this new exhaust, I love it. Before, like, you couldn't even hear the turbo whistle inside, and I don't think the exhaust made the turbo whistle any louder, but with the new exhaust, it's quieter, so much quieter in the cab that you can actually hear that turbo. My dad rode with me when we went and picked up the van in this thing for the first time, and he was like, "Oh, that whistle, I don't know how you can stand it. It's my favorite part," you know? So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I did get Raptor liner for the floor. Eventually here we're going to be doing that. It's now fall here. Things are starting to get cooler out again. And I don't know what temperature you can spray this crap in. Can I spray it when it's 30 degrees out? You know? So we got to figure that out. I can't get the truck in the garage, so that's out of the question. So I don't know. That might be a springtime project. But in the meantime, I need to do something, because at least the driver's side, I painted over my welds around the floor pans. Passenger side, I just didn't take the time for that, and now you can kind of see. But anyways, I'll show you my new drive line. Oh, it's still there. I gotta be careful now too. He put my phone number on the side of the drive shaft, so I don't want to be getting phone calls and text messages like, "Hey, I'm looking at your truck out here in the parking lot." But yeah, basically I snapped this guy right here, so that spline shaft is $170 plus $100 to have him install it. So looks like he rebalanced it too. What a guy. What a guy.